Welcome back, my friends, to TFT Hyperroll with Artark. Before we get into anything, here it is, the graphic. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, you know, that stuff. But we're going to stay on a theme for the next couple of days and stick with InfiniTeam. And let's have some fun with it and show some different things you can do and why you're going to do them that way. This one was just a lot of fun to play because I got to try out a carry I never had considered being much of a carry before. But let's get to the augments. Now, opening on hero augments is always a bit kind of tricky because it really doesn't base it on what your team is doing. When I saw the best offense, where you get 50 additional ability power and 100 magic resist on Pantheon, I wanted to try this out. You probably know, maybe you don't, I'm not sure, but Pantheon's ult and how much damage he's done is based on his magic resist. So if you can get Pantheon with a ton of magic resist, he's actually going to do a lot of damage. Now, Pantheon is still a tier 1 unit, so it doesn't mean he's going to get super strong, but if you have the right augments, same thing with Poppy with the additional armor augment, but if you have the right augments, he will get strong. And let's take a look at his ability. He's doing 630 damage per ult at this point, and we haven't even put magic resist on him yet. So you might be wondering, why did I start with a Giant's Belt instead of the Negatron Cloak? I already had the additional 100 magic resist, so I was more interested in him staying up longer, which meant more health. He's already turning out the damage. But now that we picked up the second Negatron Cloak from the carousel, we can then turn that into a Dragon's Claw, put that on Pantheon if the game will actually allow it. Thank you very much. Now just keep your eye on Pantheon here and look at the amount of damage he does when he ults. He's taking off nearly 3/4 of Poppy's health in his first attack, and then he's going to be the one to just clobber Lux into non-existence. It's time for an item choice, and given what's going on, I kind of cannot resist the Negatron Cloak. Even though there are probably better items for the long term of the build, what I want to do is get an Ioniq Spark onto Pantheon, as that will help both parts of his ult, because he shields based on magic power, and he does damage based on magic resist. So you will see he will now also shred magic resist while doing more damage and shielding himself for more. And yes, watch the damage because it's gotten a little bit silly. You can say goodbye to Annie and pretty much goodbye to anything that gets a little too close to him. The damage charts, well, yeah, he's going to rule them completely. It's time for our second augment, and I would normally not take this one for an InfiniTeam build, but given what I am doing with Pantheon and trying to get him ultimately up to 3 stars, I've got that lesser champion duplicator just for that reason. I want him to be able to heal back up as he goes. And we are now on rinse and repeat. My one concern for this build is what happens late game. Having your carry be a frontline tier 1 champion, that's going to be rough. So there's going to be a change that has to happen at some point. Now, a lot happened in the carousel and the NPC round that followed that made me change the entire build-up, at least in terms of what my backline was going to be. I got an early misfortune, then was able to pick up a Twisted Fate, so say goodbye to the sure shot build that I had started with, and now we're headed into the infinite Quickdraw since we have Kaisa and Ezreal and Misfortune. So that's the way to go at that point. We put the Static Shiv on Twisted Fate because that will shred magic resist. Remember, Pantheon is doing magic damage, so it's going to help him out as well. Also keep in mind, a lot of the builds this season are AP based, so having huge magic resist on our frontliner, that's going to be key. And so much of this match was truly endlessly entertaining. Watch Pantheon just pop Shen right at the beginning of the fight, and then he holds up through all the Draven attack until he gets up there and introduces himself. Hi Draven, bye Draven. It's now time for our final augment, and we really need to start working on the backline. Golden Egg is tempting, but given the fact that I have been all frontline focused with very little backline, I needed to go Radiant Relics. Fist of Fairness is going to probably be my best choice of this group because it will give me enough power. I can pick up the needlessly large rod so I can properly itemize Misfortune, since at the end of the day, like I said before, even if I get him up to 3 stars, he's not going to be the carry. I'm going to need serious damage coming from the back, and I now have the ability to take him to 3 stars with that champion duplicator. And as you can see in this fight, it's going to take a lot more than just a big beefy Pantheon up front to win, as everyone else gets stronger and gets their 4s and 5s. You need Misfortune to wipe things out, and that's what it takes this time around, with her leading the damage charts. And now, just for the moment, because it's fun, we're going to duplicate and get our gold 3-star Pantheon with a ton of magic resist. And again, while it's fun to do something like this with a frontline champion, you can't rely on it. You need the backline, and you can see again here it's Misfortune who comes in and continues the win streak, but Pantheon is still at full health. Now we happen to get a Deathblade off the carousel, and we're thinking about Ezreal items, 5-cost Ezreal items. So we're going to put the Deathblade and then grab the Giant Slayer and put that on Sivir, who at this point is just holding them for Ezreal, since we're not going to need a 6th InfiniTeam as we go down the line. So these are Ezreal items for once we find him. The last champion left to itemize here is going to be Twisted Fate, so we're looking for AP items, and Jeweled Gauntlet will do well. There are others I'd rather have, such as Hextech Gunblade or Rabadon's Deathcap, but this will work out. Rageblade 2 is also excellent on him. And as you can see, InfiniTeam is fairly popular, but one of the nice things about it is, since there are multiple ways to get there, you can really have multiple InfiniTeams in a game, and they can all get into the top 4. In so many ways, Misfortune has taken over as the carry now simply because of her raw power, but let's not diminish Pantheon's contribution here. He is holding up, allowing it to be possible, and right behind her in the damage charts. And as a combined team, together they have led us into the top 4, or should I say top 3, because that's how it ended up turning out. What I'm now looking for out of this team is a little bit more frontline power, because we're going to need more than just a gold 3-star Pantheon and a Shen to hold everything back. We also need to find Ezreal, because he is going to be key. We're loading up Twisted Fate as much as we can. We bring in Ezreal and give him all the Ezreal numbers. Now we have the 5 InfiniTeam for Quickdraw. We're moving Ezreal over to the portal, since we do not have a 2-star Twisted Fate yet. Once we get it, flip it back over until we get a 2-star Ezreal. We have also managed to do this without losing a single match yet. This is a threat defender team, which is an interesting way to go. They have a lot of AP production on their Aurelion Soul. Not too much power, but when they can cast that often, it can be really difficult to get through. Once again, Pantheon, Misfortune, they remain till the end, and ultimately, Misfortune is able to get off the ult and finish it off. And right now, I'm honestly thinking, I got this. Perfect game. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Then meet Hacker Draven. And I think I have a pretty good chance against it, but Misfortune doesn't quite ult enough to get him down to where he can execute her. All Pantheon is going to need to do is basically leap on him, and while this goes all the way into overtime, Draven is able to do enough damage to get him low enough that executes my Pantheon. Perfect game, ruined. Now my problem with the Hacker team is I got cocky. They're actually fairly easy to protect against with positioning, especially in hyperroll, which is why I rarely see them get into the top 4 or get really up there. And that is this. You can bring champions back to act as distractions for hackers, and that will pretty much stop them because they'll go down. I was not particularly worried about this team because I had beaten them before fairly easily and didn't think they were going to be a problem. Yeah, I probably should have rethought that. One thing lacking on my team is any healing after that initial second win. So I'm very quickly knocked down to just my Pantheon left, and he is not going to be able to hold up against this, and we're now down to 2 lives left. We get out of that fight, find our 2-star Ezreal, and get him on the platform. Check out who we're facing, and it is the Threat Defender team that we're going to have to go up against. So we no longer need to protect against the hacker and can bring our front line back to the front line. The main change for us has been that we now have a 2-star Ezreal, but they did a lot of damage to us last time, so I'm spreading people out just in the hopes that we don't all get caught in a giant Fiddle and or Mordekaiser ult, because that is what's going to do the most damage to us. Ezreal ult takes down a lot of their team, leaves Misfortune able to try to clean up the rest of it. She takes care of most of the right half, then turns on the left, but as you will see, it's enough to trigger Fiddle to get out and into the fight where he takes everything down except for our Pantheon, who is able to wipe him out, walk up, say hello to Aurelion Sol, and goodbye Aurelion Sol, and GG to everyone. This game was a lot of fun. If you get that augment, give it a shot. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have an absolutely awesome day.